They called it a gift, but it was more like a dare, Major Cole muttered as he stood before the rusted hulk of the alien ship. The vessel, dumped in Earth's orbit like cosmic garbage, floated awkwardly on its magnetic supports in the makeshift dock. Its hull was a patchwork of dense, mismatched alloys, and what appeared to be scorch marks from energy weapons. The alien envoy who had delivered it, a species known as the Kalari, insisted it was a gesture of goodwill. Cole had seen goodwill before. This was something else. Generous of them, giving us their trash, quipped Jenkins, a wiry engineer with a perpetually sarcastic tone. I mean, just look at it. Half the panels don't even match, and the other half look like they've been welded by someone blindfolded, added Ramirez, his counterpart and a logistics expert. The closest thing to an optimist the team had, which wasn't saying much. Cole scanned the group gathered in the dock, a motley crew of Earth's finest minds, or at least the ones willing to sign up for what everyone was already calling a fool's errand. They had physicists, engineers, computer specialists, and a handful of military personnel, himself included. Not exactly the A-team for interstellar innovation, but they would have to do. The Kalari had claimed this was a gift to help humanity join the galactic stage. What they didn't say, but what everyone knew, was that it was more likely a test. Humanity had no friends among the stars, no allies to call on. The Kalari had a reputation for being opportunists, and their gift reeked of manipulation. The ship itself was a disaster. Its systems were dead or barely functional, and its design made no sense. Sections of the vessel didn't connect logically, as if someone had assembled it from spare parts without a blueprint. And then there was the power core, or rather, the gaping hole where a power core should have been. Cole clenched his jaw. They think we're going to crash and burn with this thing. Jenkins chuckled. Honestly, sir, they're probably right. This thing wouldn't even pass inspection at a scrapyard back home. Good thing we're not looking to pass inspections, Cole replied. His eyes glinted as he addressed the group. We're looking to prove a point. The room quieted. Despite their misgivings, every man and woman in the dock knew what was at stake. Humanity wasn't just trying to build a ship. They were fighting for respect. The Kalari and their galactic peers saw Earth as little more than a backwater. Accepting the junk ship had been a gamble, but turning it into something functional, something formidable, would change everything. Jenkins broke the silence. All right, boss, where do we start? The engine or the, whatever this heap's pretending to be? Neither, said Ramirez, stepping forward with a tablet. We start with the skeleton. If the structure can't hold, nothing else matters. For the next several weeks, the team attacked the project with single-minded focus. The ship's outer hull was stripped and reinforced layer by layer using scavenged materials from Earth's burgeoning orbital industries. Engineers worked around the clock, welding and reshaping the warped sections until the hull resembled something capable of atmospheric reentry. Jenkins and his team tackled the propulsion systems, or what was left of them. The Kalari ship had been equipped with engines that looked impressive on paper, but were practically useless in their current state. Jenkins had other plans. We don't need to fix it, he said during one late-night brainstorming session. We need to replace it. With what? Cole asked. Fusion drives. We've got the schematics from that Mars colony project. They're not fancy, but they're reliable. If we scale them up, they'll move this thing. The team got to work. Using Earth's fusion reactor designs, they built new engines capable of delivering unprecedented thrust. It wasn't elegant, but it was effective. By the end of the second month, the ship could move under its own power, something the Kalari likely hadn't expected. Meanwhile, Ramirez and his logistics team focused on the ship's interior. The alien systems were a chaotic mess, with controls that defied logic and wiring that seemed to have been installed by an insane electrician. They ripped out entire sections and rebuilt them from scratch using human-designed interfaces. Ramirez even had the idea to install modular components, allowing the crew to swap out faulty systems mid-mission. The real breakthrough, however, came from a man named O'Brien, a quiet physicist with a knack for unconventional thinking. O'Brien had been poring over the schematics for weeks. One day, he burst into the dock, his face flushed with excitement. "I figured it out," he said, waving a stack of papers. "The Kalari weren't just giving us junk, they were giving us a puzzle." Cole raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "This ship wasn't designed to fight or explore. It was designed to adapt." O'Brien spread his papers across the table, pointing to the mismatched sections of the hull. "Look at the way these modules are connected. It's not random, it's modular. They built this thing to be upgraded." "Upgraded into what?" Jenkins asked. O'Brien grinned. "Anything we want." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. The Kalari hadn't handed them a junk ship. They'd handed them a blueprint for innovation. If humanity could figure out how to exploit the ship's modular design, they could build something far greater than what the Kalari had envisioned. From that moment on, the project shifted into high gear. Engineers worked on integrating advanced weaponry, using experimental railguns and plasma cannons that had been sitting in Earth's research labs. O'Brien led a team to enhance the ship's shielding systems, creating a hybrid design that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. Ramirez streamlined the interior, turning the ship into a fully functional base of operations. By the 4th month, the vessel was unrecognizable. It wasn't sleek or elegant, but it was powerful. It was a weapon. And it wasn't just any weapon. It was humanity's declaration to the galaxy. "We're here to stay." By the 5th month, the ship was ready for its first test. It now bore little resemblance to the broken hulk the Kalari had delivered. The hull gleamed with reinforced plating, its angles sharp and purposeful. The fusion engines thrummed with restrained power, promising unmatched acceleration. Weapon ports bristled with newly installed railguns, plasma turrets, and missile arrays. Inside, the crew had transformed the ship into a modular marvel, with adaptive systems that could switch roles on the fly, from combat operations to deep space exploration. They named it the Resolute. The Resolute's maiden voyage was a simple one on paper, a short journey to the asteroid belt to mine resources for Earth's orbital industries. But for Cole and the team, it was a baptism by fire. The galaxy was watching, and the Kalari had made no secret of their skepticism. Rumors circulated that the gift had been a calculated insult, a way to prove humanity's inadequacy to the galactic community. As the Resolute powered up, Cole stood on the bridge, flanked by Ramirez and Jenkins. O'Brien sat at the science station, his eyes glued to a holographic interface that displayed the ship's vital systems. Around them, the crew moved with tense efficiency. "Engines online," Jenkins reported, his voice steady despite the anticipation in the room. "Structural integrity holding at 100%, Ramirez added. "Navigation systems green," chimed O'Brien. Cole took a deep breath. "All right, people. Let's see what this thing can do. Take us out." The Resolute rose from the dock with a low hum, its engines flaring to life. For a moment, there was silence on the bridge as Earth receded behind them, a blue marble framed against the black void. Then Jenkins whooped. "Smooth as silk," he said, his grin wide. "Don't jinx it," Ramirez muttered, though even she couldn't hide her smile. The journey to the asteroid belt was uneventful, until it wasn't. Just as the Resolute prepared to deploy its mining drones, an alert blared across the bridge. "Contact," O'Brien shouted. "Multiple vessels inbound, Vector 347. Cole's stomach tightened. "Kalari." O'Brien shook his head. "No. Unknown configuration. Small ships, but armed." The view screen lit up with an image of the approaching ships, sleek, angular craft painted in dark colors that absorbed the faint light of the asteroid field. Pirate raiders, Cole realized. Humanity had encountered them before, opportunists who preyed on weaker species and isolated targets. "Looks like they're testing us," Jenkins said, his tone grim. "Then let's not disappoint them," Cole replied. "All hands, battle stations." The Resolute's crew sprang into action. Weapon systems powered up. targeting arrays locking onto the incoming ships. Cole watched the raiders' formation on the tactical display. There were 5 of them, their weapons glowing faintly as they charged for an attack run. Evasive maneuvers, Cole ordered. Bring the railguns online. The ship jolted as it veered to starboard, dodging the first volley of plasma bolts. Jenkins, at the helm, maneuvered with practiced precision, keeping the Resolute out of the pirates' crosshairs. Railguns ready, Ramirez called out. Fire! The ship's railguns thundered, sending high-velocity projectiles streaking through the void. 2 of the raiders exploded in a flash of light, their debris scattering into the asteroid field. The remaining ships broke formation, darting erratically to avoid the Resolute's fire. Shields holding at 85%, O'Brien reported as the ship absorbed a glancing hit. Let's finish this, Cole said. Jenkins, bring us around. Ramirez, target their engines. Disable them if you can. The Resolute pivoted, its plasma turrets spitting fire at the fleeing raiders. One by one, the enemy ships were crippled, their engines reduced to sputtering wreckage. The final raider attempted to flee, but a well-placed missile from the Resolute's launchers ended the chase. Targets neutralized, Ramirez confirmed. A cheer erupted across the bridge, but Cole held up a hand. Good work, but we're not done. Scan the debris for survivors. If we're going to prove we belong out here, we do it on our terms. The crew fell silent, nodding in understanding. The Resolute returned to Earth weeks later, not as a salvaged wreck, but as a symbol of what humanity could achieve. News of the ship's successful mission spread across the planet and beyond. For the first time, the galaxy began to take humanity seriously, not as a species to be dismissed, but as one to be reckoned with. But the Kalari were not pleased. Reports indicated that they had underestimated humanity's resolve, and whispers of retaliation began to circulate. The gift, it seemed, had been a trap, and the Resolute success had sprung it. Cole stood on the bridge, staring out at the stars. The ship's next mission loomed ahead, a diplomatic venture to a contested star system where the Kalari influence was strongest. This time it wouldn't just be about proving humanity's worth. It would be about survival, and the Resolute was ready.